Good afternoon and welcome to Locked On NBA Daily. On today's show, Ja Morant's latest suspension leaves us wondering what's next for Memphis and Morant. Plus, we take a look at the futures of other stars across the league with some early trade deadline talk. Meanwhile, are the Bulls or the Spurs more likely to make the playoffs? Let's jump in.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily, however you're tuning in on YouTube or on your podcast app. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. I'm Wes Goldberg. Today, we're talking about the futures of some star players in the NBA, and we're doing it with the help of Locked On's local experts. I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast, senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt?
I found out today that shrimp, their heart actually exists in their head. And I'm kind of wondering if Ja Morant is a shrimp.
From the Locked On Bulls podcast. He's also a Bears and Bulls creator for Bleacher Report. It's Haize.
Ja. I really wish that we just got to talk about Ja being good on the basketball court, but it seems like that may never happen.
Did you know with like the large shrimp at restaurants, you're actually supposed to suck the head out?
Mm-hmm.
And you've done this?
No, I have not. I've opted not to do that.
I watched my dad do it the other day, and I can't tell you that I love that experience for me. Let's start in Memphis, where over the weekend, the Grizzlies suspended Ja Morant for one game for what they called conduct detrimental to the team after a home loss to the Lakers on Friday. According to reports, Coach Thomas Isolo challenged Morant's leadership after the game. Then, with Ja Morant out, the Grizzlies lost to the Raptors on Sunday. Here's Joe Mullinex from Locked On Grizzlies with more on what's going on in Memphis.
The suspension from the league, that's a different situation. This is team specific here. This is an interaction between the head basketball coach and his star player going awry. And Ja saying, ask the coaching staff. Ask the coaching staff. Over and over again in post-game availabilities when asked about his performance against the Lakers. At some point, the finger of accountability needs to be pointed at the person looking back at you in the mirror. At some point, you're the common denominator. We've had numerous different coaches. The roster is overturned. At some point, you have to be the one that is accountable for your own actions. And Thomas Isolo was holding him accountable for that. But I do want to stress that this doesn't need to be some end-all, be-all, seismic shift moment in the history of the Memphis Grizzlies franchise.
So, Matt, Joe's clearly talking about the potential of trading Ja Morant at the end part of that clip. Where do you think the Grizzlies and Morant are at this point?
I think it's pretty broken. So I don't think that he was responsible for Taylor Jenkins getting fired. That was the front office being like, hey, we wanted this other kind of system. And they ran that kind of system. And then they're like, no, not like that. And so they fired Taylor Jenkins, even though like very little of that was his fault, and then elevated Thomas Isolo in part because they were like, yeah, we're going to run a heavy pick and roll offense to fix Ja. Like I heard over the summer, they were trying to like repair the relationship with Ja. But now you've got Isolo, who there's a clip about him in a conversation, like from a coaching clinic kind of thing, him talking about how like it's important for us to hold each other accountable. And they're like, do you do that in private or one-on-one? He's like, no, always in front of the team. This is the NBA, sir. Like, this is the NBA. And I'm sorry that you're right. It's better to do that. You should be able to have these kind of conversations and it not be taken personally. You should be able to bring this up to a coworker, to somebody that you work with, to a huge part of your team, to the most important part of your team and be like, hey, we need better from you, man. Like, this is not acceptable. And have him be like, you're right. I'll do better. You don't live there. That's not where you are. You're in the NBA. And star players, this is how they respond. By getting suspended and you get clacked by the Toronto Raptors. Like a lot of this is just like there is a way that you have to coach in the NBA, which is not fair. It is not right. It is not smart. It is not the best, but it is how you have to do this. And either Ja is worth it or he's not, because now you're putting yourself in a situation, Haize, where you think he's worth it, but you have to trade him anyway because you can't make it work. This is the worst of all outcomes for the Grizzlies. I'm so pissed.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks to be here, especially this early in the season. Like, you're still supposed to be trying to figure some stuff out. You should have one of the better storylines in the fact that you traded Desmond Bane and got the perfect replacement in Cedric Howard. You have a nice, young, up-and-coming player that looks like he should be a really nice backcourt mate with Ja Morant. at some point you have to separate. This type of stuff is what separates really good talented players from players that can be great in the NBA, because you can be really talented and still not be great in this league. And Ja has to really ask himself, do you really want to be great? If you want to be great, you have to welcome criticism. You have to continually work to get better. You can't rely on you've been good and you've been dominant at times. Like, Ja is a big personality. I won't say great. It's a big personality, but it seems like his personality sucks. So, like, what do? You can't fail on the basketball court and not be willing to take criticism, because then at that point, where are you going to be with your career?
So I heard over the summer that there, like, amongst the sewing circles in the NBA, there was this like, hey, like, Ja hasn't changed at all. He's hanging out with the same people. His dad's acting the same way. He's acting the same way. Nothing has changed since the suspension. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not going to sit here and report that it's true. What I will tell you is that is what multiple people have said, which is not to say, again, that it's true. But here's my problem. Let's say it's false. That still means that somebody in Memphis is sharing that information. That's not getting fabricated out of nowhere. That means somebody inside the organization feels that way, which means there's a disconnect because they're not protecting their guy. That he has either pushed them too far or they have decided to go ahead and let this be out there, because that is the word that is out now. And it's going to compromise any sort of trade opportunity that you might have for Morant, because they're going to use that against you. All of this stuff is like not the way the organization needs to be run. It's got to be kept in-house better, even if Morant is being this much of a pain in the backside, which I'm fairly certain he is based off of his actions.
A suspension within the first couple of weeks of a season is pretty unheard of for conduct detrimental to the team, when it's not, something that's off the court related necessarily. It's just like, hey, we don't kind of like the way you're acting in the locker room, right?
Right.
Is any of this Isolo in his first full season as head coach of the Grizzlies kind of just going into the playground, picking the biggest bully and just socking him and just being like, hey, I'm in charge here now?
Yes. Like, it is very clearly that there's like, this is definitely, this reeks of Isolo thinking like, no, trust me. This is how we will come together and we will be better on the other side for this. When, like, those of us that have covered the league for a long time are like, sir, there is a long, expansive history of this resulting in a trade. Like, this is how it goes.
Or you getting fired.
It is a fundamental misunderstanding of the power dynamics in the NBA, Haize.
Yeah. I mean, it's like what we talked about yesterday. The last episode, we were talking about coaches potentially getting fired. Like, it's a fine line that you have to walk here. But I will say this: like, the Memphis Grizzlies, I hope they aren't considering firing a head coach, because I do think Ja does need some tough love sometimes. I think he needs somebody who's going to check him on his bull crap, to be honest with you.
Hey, shout out to Joe Molnax, by the way, who consistently complained about Ja Morant being ranked 29th in our NBA Top 100 from Locked On. Thanks for making such a big deal out of that, Joe. It's working out great. Aged like a fine wine, Joe. Chef's kiss.
To back up Joe here, though.
Don't.
Ja's having a good year. He had the game winner against Phoenix. I know that everybody keeps looking at his field goal percentage being down, but it's really the 2-point field goal percentage is fine. Once the three is what's pulling the overall percentage down in this small kind of 2.5 week sample size here. But he's 5 of 32 on threes so far this season. That's going to fall at a higher clip than it is now. He's still clearly their best player. It's not like they're the Pelicans right now where the season just feels lost. Yeah, they had a couple of bad losses. You had the suspension and then the loss on Sunday. But, like, if they were to trade Ja Morant, Haize, because that's where people are naturally kind of going with this, even though Joe Molinax is saying on his show that that's not necessarily where the Grizzlies are right now. But people want to go towards, okay, are we going into a direction where they're going to be forced to trade him, where Ja Morant asks for a trade or whatever it is? Do you think at that point it means a total teardown of what they got going on in Memphis? What would a trade of Ja Morant mean for this team?
I don't think it means necessarily a total teardown. It depends on how they feel about JJJ and the young players that they still do have there. They have some talent there in Memphis, but I would say this: like, it's a major retooling. The only thing that they can hope for is that they trade Ja for another young promising player and they swap that, because it is going to set them back a couple of years in their development. Which, I mean, if we're being honest, every season they've kind of gone backwards for the last 2 or 3 years. If we're just being 100% honest, so it may just be the reset that they need.
Jaren Jackson Jr., nicknamed Trip, by the way, folks in Memphis. Trip, like, he is the guy I think first in these situations. 3 years ago, when they were refusing to speak to the media after running their mouth and getting smacked by the Lakers, Ja and Desmond Bane were the ones that were the professionals that were like, yep, talk to the media. Yep, it's a tough situation. Didn't play well enough. Got to be better. Jaren was the one that sat around and lived through that tanking season the next year and did nothing but get better. He lived through last year with all the nonsense that happened then, did nothing but get better. Jaren has been their best player for 2 years. He continuously gets better on offense. He continuously gets better on defense. He probably should have won DPOY last year if they hadn't completely fallen apart, which everyone blamed on Taylor Jenkins. How's that working out? Jaren Jackson Jr. deserves better. That's my question, is at what point is Jaren like, look, man, I need to go to a serious organization. He deserves better than what has happened between Memphis and Ja.
Is he nicknamed Trip because he trips and falls into 6 fouls every game?
If he got the whistle Bam out of bio did, he would be considered a much better player.
I mean, like Jaren Jackson Jr., the year he won Defensive Player of the Year, I think he averaged still 5 fouls per game. It's really ridiculous.
He gets I'm sorry, you can't tell me that he does foul more than these other guys. He just gets Draymond Green could suplex an official on the court and they'd be like, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Jaren approaches the human being and they're like, well, shouldn't have made that contact.
Besides Ja Morant, what other stars might be available before the trade deadline? We're going to talk about that next here on Locked On NBA Daily. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Daily is brought to you by Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win, not just on game day, every day. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Basketball season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout, it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. I love that what you see is what you pay. No hidden fees at checkout. Plus, I could see exactly what my view looked like before I bought the tickets with their in-app seat view feature. Their zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section, Game Time picks your seats, and you save big. You can even find NBA tickets for under $25. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go with Game Time. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. The best way to support the show is hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We're going to stick to the trade topic here, but we're going to zoom out to the rest of the league, guys. We're only a few games into the season, obviously, but when you look at the league, what names stand out as potential early trade deadline candidates based on where they are, where their team is, and maybe there's even some injuries across the league that could influence some of this stuff? Matt, we'll start with you.
Trey Young's first name that comes to my mind. They didn't agree to an extension. Trey was obviously upset about that. He's out for a while now. That to me is going to be like an interesting one to watch here, because if the Hawks go on some sort of substantive run, which I think is possible. Honestly, I love the way they looked in the first game. Didn't look as good in the second. But if they're able to like put together a new identity with this team and be like, you know, this is actually Jalen Johnson's team, I think that's going to further things along. I mean, the Pelicans are the obvious one here, like Zion, Trey Murphy, Herb. Like maybe finally they give up on Herb Jones. Like I don't know what's going to happen. Pelicans fans are just as mad with Joe Dumars, who's been on the job for like 6 months, as they are with Willie Green and the roster. So there's a lot of heat there. Nets aren't going to trade anybody except maybe Nick Claxton. He might be one that gets moved. Maybe Cam Thomas if somebody wants to bite. Look at the bottom of like the net ratings. Mavericks should trade everyone, but they're not going to. They're going to go down with the ship. Lauri Markkanen, obviously being the other big name. Those are kind of the ones that I would look at first and foremost as far as if we're looking at trade options.
For me, Lauri Markkanen is definitely one. Walker Kessler is another one. I think Jonathan Kuminga may be playing himself into a nice trade that could net the Golden State Warriors exactly what they need, even though the way he's been playing, I think that they should probably think to keep him, but he's definitely one that I will look at there as well. That could be on the trade block. The Atlanta Hawks, it's interesting, right? Because I don't necessarily see them trading Trey personally, but I do think that they haven't necessarily gotten yet out of the players that they've acquired this offseason, which could lead them to trying to make a trade if they really feel like this is the move. And then also look out for the Detroit Pistons. I think I love Jaden Ivey for that team. He hasn't been there yet, but I do think, they're 4-2 now. They've kind of turned around from early struggles. But I think that the Pistons, with not re-signing Jaden Ivey, not re-signing, giving an extension to Jalen Duren, they could also be one of the teams to look out for to move one of those pieces.
I want to go back to Atlanta here for a second because both of you guys mentioned Trey Young as maybe a trade guy that could be headed out of Atlanta potentially. They've won 2 of their last 3 games. They lost their last one. But with Trey Young out for 4 weeks, they're not out of it in the Eastern Conference, right? They're 3-4 right now. Like they can climb up, but they also can't really afford to move much further down, I guess, in the East. Is there a potential for them to actually go out and grab a point guard, perhaps, and maybe experiment with something that's not Trey Young? Because there's a lot of Luke Kennard minutes happening. I don't know that there's a whole lot of like real point guards outside of Trey Young on that roster.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's going to kick the tires on Colin Sexton. Like everybody's going to kick the tires on Colin Sexton. Houston's actually, I can't believe how good Houston's offense is without point guard. Like this is genuinely shocking to me how well they're doing right now. They've been on a tear offensively. But yeah, I think Colin Sexton's got to be in that conversation. CJ McCollum is the other one to maybe kind of look at. The Wizards are willing to move some of those other guys that I think that they have. I think that they're pretty like not just Chris and CJ, but I think I think they would be open to talks for Bilal Coulibaly. I think they'd be open for talks for Kispert. Those kind of guys. Brooklyn Net, like man, the Nets are kind of interesting, right? Like, okay, if you do a deal and if you trade, I don't know how you get the money to work out with Brooklyn, but if you took on Cam Johnson and like all of the filler in all of the world for Trey Young,
Cam Thomas,
yeah. Sorry, not Cam Johnson, Cam Thomas, and you just take on all of that. Like, think about the Nets going into free agency, having Trey Young, and then having all that cap space. It's not bad. Like, that's not a bad concept. I just don't know if they can even get to the money amount without MPJ to make that deal work.
Trey Young in Brooklyn, Haize?
Man, I just don't think that Brooklyn's ready for that. Like, I get what you're saying there, man. I mean, it's interesting, but I at this point, I think Brooklyn has shown in keeping all 5 of their draft picks, and as young as that roster is, that they are kind of committed to just being bad while trying to develop for the next 3 to 5 years. I just don't know if they would make that trade for Trey.
And using 3 of those picks on point guards, right? So
yeah.
Haize, you mentioned Jonathan Kuminga. I had not really considered that because Kuminga is playing really well for Golden State. The Warriors look like maybe a second tier type of contender, which I don't think none of us had them that high sort of in our tiers going into the season. But you could make the argument like, so Kaminga signs that deal finally over the offseason. Everybody's like, okay, that's a tradable contract. And his agent is out here basically saying, yep, this is a tradable contract. That's the goal here. He's playing really well. He's kind of bought into all the Steve Kerr, Kumbaya offense stuff right now. We'll see how it plays out when we get further to like January and February. But like you could make an argument that the Warriors would be better off just holding on to Kaminga for now. But at the same time, like where would be like his value's probably never been higher than it is right now, Haize.
Yeah, I mean it's a really decent contract. The fact that you do have the team option as well could make that beneficial to whatever team. And so I think if you look at like some of these guys, like for example, if Walker Kessler becomes available with the Warriors needing a center, is Jonathan Kuminga and maybe a future pick enough to get that done? I know that the Jazz try to fleece everything that they do, but it makes it interesting enough for Kaminga to be playing this way. He's having the best efficiency of his career so far very early into the season. And if they wanted to try to swing something, I think he's eligible to be traded in January. It could be the trade chip that gets him something they need.
He's playing too well to get traded. This is always the problem, man, is like when you have a guy that you drafted that your ownership is invested in, which is why they kept him, and they pay him. And now Steve Kerr's like, love what he's doing. He's been so great for us. Oh, can't get enough of him. Like they're going to keep him. He's played himself so well. And then now they're going to be like, oh, we can't trade him now. He's too good. This always drives me crazy when it's like, look, you don't get to just trade guys at their lowest for good return. Like you have to sometimes trade guys high. Yeah. And they never, and like teams just do not do that, especially in this window. I think with this core, they're going to be like, no, like JK is too good. So they're gonna go ahead and keep him. I threw this up because I would rather talk about this than Jonathan Kuminga. I'm tired of talking about that guy for the rest of my life. Trey Young for Drew Holiday and Robert Williams III works under the cap.
Could you get Scoot going back?
No, you keep Scoot, and you have Scoot and Trey and
Damian Lillard,
and you figure it out.
That's Matt is an agent of chaos he's in a well-wrapped, very analytical, very basketball smart person, but Matt just really he's the Joker. He wants to see it all burn down.
I want insanity. Yes. To quit. What I hate is stuff like the Warriors where you spin your wheels with the same stuff over and over and over again with Jonathan Kuminga. And like, they're very good. And like, they've started to lost to the Pacers. Like all these, nobody's as good as they look or as bad as they look, but I do hate it when teams just get like the Pelicans being like, oh no, we are keeping Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. No, under no circumstances. Why are you wasting these guys' career? Like, be real about where you are. Makes me crazy.
Trey Young for Jamal Murray.
No, because they can't afford the defense. You can't. Jamal's legitimately been great on defense this year. Jamal's been like everything that the Nuggets have wanted.
Yeah, he's been great.
And you talk about like selling high, right? Like, well, why don't you sell high on him? If you're going to sell high, you don't sell high on Trey Young. He doesn't solve your 3-point problem either.
Trey Young for Kobe White and Nikola Vucevic?
No.
Or something? Patrick Williams?
Yeah. Yes. Trey Young and
Patrick Williams. If you guys want Patrick Williams, no Kobe White.
Two teams, including the Chicago Bulls, suffered their first loss of the season over the weekend. Were their hot starts real or fake? We'll answer that next. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Rougiette. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. That's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's all about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit Rougiette, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA for 15% off your first order. That's Rougiette.com/LockedOnNBA. Don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses, start making moves. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA Daily your first listen. The Locked On Podcast Network has a show for every team. Check out Locked On Grizzlies for more on the John Morant story. Check out Matt over at Locked On Nuggets and Haize over at Locked On Bulls for more on their teams that they cover. The Spurs and the Bulls both took their first losses of the season over the weekend. The Bulls gave up 128 points to the Knicks. They lost by 12 in that game, Haize. Not a great showing for Chicago in that game, but does that have you questioning whether or not the Bulls start, that 5-0, was it 5-0 start, was real or fake?
No, I think the 5-0 start was real, in the sense that, like, this is a team that is playing really connected. They're giving effort on both sides of the ball. They've almost basically, they've given up the paint to stop 3-pointers, which is something that's hurt them. And keep in mind, we've done all this without our best player in Kobe White still. So Josh Giddey's averaging a near triple-double. He's playing great. Everybody's playing really great. I had questions on, all right, how do the Bulls, once a team gets hot from three, how do they react to that? And against the Knicks, they didn't react bad. Now, we matched them a little bit. Like, they ended up only making 3 more 3-pointers than us. What really killed the Bulls is they couldn't stop hacking. They couldn't stop fouling. 22 free throws for the Knicks versus 11 for the Chicago Bulls. So I think the start is real. And I think that that doesn't mean I think they're going to be one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference all the way out, but I do think this is a team that is improved, and they're going to be better than what they've been the last couple of years.
Kobe White, best player. Ooh, boy, let's. All right. Come on now. Bazelis, Giddey.
Bazelis is not on Kobe's level yet. He's just not. He's not.
Yeah, no, it'll take him like, I don't know, 2.5 weeks to get there. I think
the Bulls are 0-1 without Ayo Dosunmu in the lineup.
Ayo plays a huge role too.
Yeah, Ayo is great.
I
think important thing with these starts, right, is, okay, if the Bulls won 5 games in January, what would you say? In the midst of a 41-win season, you'd be like, oh, they played really good basketball in that stretch in January. You just wouldn't kind of react to it. The numbers I think are fascinating. Okay, so location EFG is basically how much should the opponent be shooting? Like what percentage should they be shooting based off where they get shots from? Bulls are dead last in that category, but they are also number one in limiting opponent 3-pointers. Like this is my favorite stat of them is that they're like Donovan has taken the extreme, which is like, look, I don't have the roster here. I have to gamify this a little bit. So we're going to take a bunch of threes and get to the rim, and we're going to limit threes, and we're going to allow shots at the rim because that's the weak point.
Yeah.
And that trade-off is really smart. And it's kind of proof, and it goes against basic principles that I think most coaches adhere to. Coaches are still like, well, look, first we got to stop the layup. You can't just let them get to the rim. And I'm kind of like, can you? I would rather opponents take a contested layup at this point than an open catch and shoot three. If you are allowing that on volume, you're going to lose that proposition over the long haul of it. Like you don't want uncontested layups. You don't want cuts, but contested driving layups. Okay. Uncontested corner threes. No. So like, I like what Chicago's done here a lot. I like the way that they've built things with their best players, Modest Bazelis and Josh Giddey.
So I want to go again to the other undefeated team that dropped, the Spurs. So we only have one undefeated team left now, by the way, the Oklahoma City Thunder. But the Bulls and the Spurs, they both dropped their first games over the weekend. Haize, I want to go back to you here. Which team is more likely or has a better chance of making the playoffs between the Bulls and the Spurs?
It's got to be the Bulls just because it's the Eastern Conference. It has to be the Bulls because it's the Eastern Conference. Like the East is still showing itself to be like last season. I think between the 6th seed and the 10th seed, there was like 3.5 games that separated them. It may be even a closer margin than that this season. So because the Bulls are in the East and they play as a team, I think that they have the better chances by the nature of that.
I was gonna say Spurs, but Dylan Harper being in a walking boot jacks with that. Fox gets back at some point. I kind of think the Spurs offense is running a little bit hot right now. Yeah, I'll go ahead and say Chicago. Boston's shown they already look really worn out. They're still they're starting to win games, but I just think this is an exhausting way for them to be playing right now. Detroit, I think, is going to be really good. Atlanta's obviously not all that good. I think you can make that conclusion. Toronto has wildly disappointed. So a lot of the potential contenders to take those spots for the Pacers and the Celtics are underperforming. So I'll go with Haize here, and I think the Bulls probably have the best shot here right now as we stand.
I think the Spurs are probably the better team. The Bulls play in the Eastern Conference, and so advantage Bulls, I guess, is sort of what we're all saying here. But, credit to the Bulls. They've been playing well. Let's look ahead to tonight quickly. Dallas at Houston, 2 teams in Texas, 2 teams without a real point guard on the roster. This game's being played in Houston. Matt, who do you like?
Oh, Houston. Oh, come on now. Imagine the 2 big lineup without Anthony Davis and Derek Lively. This is Daniel Gafford going to be trying to battle again, and Dwight Powell trying to battle against this 2 big lineup with Adams and Şengün. Steven Adams is going to have 10 rebounds. I love the way that Jabari Smith Jr. is playing right now, by the way. He's a guy that on the Rockets that doesn't get enough attention, and he has been phenomenal as of late. He is playing great basketball. He is settling in very nicely. Rockets blow the Mavericks out.
Yeah, I'm going Rockets here too. I think the Rockets win this. I don't know if it's a blowout because usually when it looks like it's going to be a blowout, it's not. Yeah. But I trust the Rockets to be able to pull this one out today.
Last one, Milwaukee at Indiana, the Miles Turner Bowl. Haize, back to you. What do you think?
Come on now. Indiana barely has a team right now. They have so many people out on injured reserve. So I'll go with the Bucks here. I think the Bucks come here. They take care of business handily.
You would not believe how good Rick Carlisle is as a home underdog. You would not believe how good he is with the Indiana Pacers as a home underdog. I will stay away from this one. This smells like a trap. I will say, yes, the Bucks should win. They're favored. But, God, this one makes me real nervous. Although Milwaukee is motivated, having been knocked out by them twice in the last 2 years in the playoffs.
Give me the Rockets in the first game. Give me the Pacers in this one. Aaron Nesmith, 31 points, made 5 3-pointers against Golden State the other day. He might just pop off. I love the reverse, the reverse spite game too, where Miles Turner's going into this game and he's saying, "Oh, you guys gave up on me." He had that interview with ESPN, they gave up on me and all this stuff. And the Pacers might just be like, "Hey, buddy, here's why." I kind of like the reverse.
Yeah.
spite angle there. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Thank you to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA Daily.